Bisky wants to know what libertarians think of abortion. It's not like it's controversial or anything like that.
We're all gonna
Nothing
disagree
like
on
that.
Bisky, it's not a hard question. It's just that the Libertarian Party is mostly about choice, right? And so there's some people who think you should have a choice, and there's some people who believe or are pro-life.
You're taking away
pro-choice.
some choice.
Right. And so as a party, we have mixed people, and so we don't really have a set stance on abortion. It's individualized.
It all comes down to what you think, like when you think life begins. Like if you think
I'm personally pro-choice. I'm personally
I mean-
pro-choice. That's just how I view it. I'm sure other people in the call are not.
I used to be pro-choice.
Begrudgingly pro-choice, I would say.
Listen,
Like, I understand this needs to exist. Like, it needs to happen. I would much rather someone be going to a doctor and having it be done safely. But on like a moral, ethical level, I'm not really in favor of it.
So here's the deal, right? I don't think that this has to be all that complicated. I have the real libertarian position. All other positions are bullshit. Here we go.
I wasn't a real libertarian.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, so I think that this discussion isn't necessarily about when life is concepted or anything like that. What the real question is, what do you value more, life or liberty? And once you answer that question, it will determine how you fall on pro-choice or anti-choice or whatever the hell.
Wow, way to shit on my stance, Tim.
Am I shitting on your stance because you're against it or because you're in alignment? Because I got more.
I'm personally pro-life, but it's really hard to do that right now because the pro-life argument right now in practice is really weak. Like fucking Alabama, one of their state senators proposing a law that would impose the death penalty on any woman who gets an abortion for any reason. How am I supposed to defend my stance when I have to defend that guy?
Yeah, no, and so in practice.
Well, hold on, real quick. The pro-choice argument on the flip side of that coin, you need to align with the people in New York who are cheering the fact that you can end. You know, you can abort a baby
a day before it's born. Yeah,
I mean, these motherfuckers were cheering that shit on like fucking retards. Like, nobody wants to do that.
That's where I find it interesting. In Japan, abortion is still legal, but it's not like something glamorized. You know,
Right.
I don't know how else to put it. Like that's kind of my position on that for that reason.
So Bisky is asking right now. So you are all pro-choice? I am confused. I think that most people on this call,
it's not one or the other.
Yeah, I think most people on this call are pro-choice in their personal lives. Where we may or may not disagree is on what the public policy should be, and this is why I say I have the real libertarian position for it.
So I know a lot of libertarians probably come down on the whole pro-choice side. The vast majority, because you got that gray line. I mean, I would say like I used to be extremely pro-choice, even like on the verge of kind of being like some of these disgusting leftists where they're like almost celebrating it. But I've definitely come more around to the pro-life side, because once you start like determining, like, all right, there is a life in there, and then if we're whole about the nap, I mean, you're violating it completely.
Non-aggression
principle. The non-aggression principle. If you believe in the non-aggression principle at all, and you believe that what is growing inside of a person is a person at any stage, you can't justify abortion if you believe in the nap. So that's why it comes down to when you believe that what is in you becomes a person. Where is viability? What is, like, is it conception? Is it 15 weeks? Is it blah, blah, blah? Whatever it is. And that is usually where people get stuck. Like Mitch said, kind of like begrudgingly pro-choice. I think if they're like a few weeks in and you don't know, I mean, you probably should be able to do that. But after a certain point, it shouldn't be allowed anymore.
Well, that's kind of my thought. That's kind of my thought on it too. Like, if you could take out a fetus and it would still, like, if you were to put it in an incubator and you could still have it like survive and everything like that. Like, once there's that element of you take this thing out and there still is a chance it could survive, like that's kind of like, okay, we're getting into that territory where you're kind of harming something.
So just to expand a little bit on what Duke was saying, me personally, in my personal life, I am pro-life, but I also understand that on the flip side, there's certain instances where a woman might not want to carry out her pregnancy. She's sick. She has health issues that might cause complications that might kill her herself. Things like that. Like I understand. She got raped. You know, she got raped by a family member. Like there's disturbing things that happen in the real world that we need to deal with. So, you know, there's that gray area. And I think what it comes down to is what Duke was saying. Where is it that life begins? And I'm not going to pretend that I'm the expert on this issue and that I could tell you that it's at inception, or that it's the minute before the pussy the baby gets pushed out, you know. I can't tell you exactly when it is that it happens.
Until the pussy gets stretched, man.
Yeah, exactly. I know it's before that. I know it's sometime after inception. You know, there's a 9-month window in there that I think, you know, communities should determine that this is the time when inception happens. But one thing I think we could all agree upon is that government just needs to get the fuck out of it, because government doesn't do anything effectively.
And that's the biggest point, right? So we're all for individual determination, right? So you can decide for yourself if you want to be involved in abortions or not. You can make that moral judgment for yourself. What I think that the pro-life movement gets wrong is that they try to get everything funded by other people. So me, myself, I'm completely against abortion, and I don't think that any of my money should be put towards it. Some people feel differently. But at the end of the day, taxation is theft, and any redistribution of wealth towards anything, whether I agree with it or not, is unacceptable. And that's why I say I have the true libertarian position. If you want to support other people's abortions, you should volunteer your own fucking money for it. Don't come for me. Don't come at me for it. I don't think it's appropriate at all. But if you want to go have an abortion, that's on, you know, if you want to take it from a religious perspective, it's on your soul. You're the one that's going to have to answer for those consequences. If you come to me and you ask me whether or not you should have an abortion, I would tell you no.
I almost feel like there's like two, like I don't want to use poor terms, but like two kinds of abortion. One where it's, you know, people who genuinely have, you know, health problems. They weren't consenting in the first place, that kind of thing. And in most of the cases, they get out in front of it. Hey, this is going to happen. I need to get an abortion. Like, I'm cool with that. And then there's more of the glorified, I just didn't feel like being responsible.
The ones who use it as birth control.
Yeah.
Which is what I have an issue with.
That's just disgusting to me. That's what I take an issue with.
And I feel like the whole argument of abortion, it's been so politicized, and you know, it's on the national level. It really does suck, because it comes down to what I said. You're at two opposite ends of the spectrum, where one side is arguing at inception you have life and you should not be able to do anything, and then on the other side it's, well, that baby could be, you know, you could be pulling one of these, you know, the baby could be crowning and you should be able to still abort it because it hasn't, you know, passed that magical threshold. And I mean, you know,
Virginia,
I think we could all agree that both sides are just disgustingly wrong.
This almost brings me to tears every time I'm thinking of it. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a video of a kid in front of Congress. He has Down syndrome, and he basically says something to the effect of, "My life is." And if you hear that, that is like heart-wrenching to you, because places like Iceland, like if your kid's gonna have Down syndrome, you know, you can freely just do away with that. And so
one question that he brought up was, I just wish that we could give more resources to women who are going through pregnancies. It would reduce abortions if women's had the means to have babies. And I know I said women's. Don't fucking get on my case. You know, he's talking about, like, if women had the capacity to take care of their children, they might not need abortions. But it's kind of like a misnomer in a way. The freedom to do something from the libertarian perspective is not the endorsement to do said thing, whether it's sex work or whether it's abortion or anything else. My point is that single mothers wouldn't be necessarily encouraged in a free society, but they would be enabled because they wouldn't be taxed to death.
I think Dave Smith and Michael Malice had an episode together this week where they kind of touched on that. Legalization doesn't mean normalization. Like, Dave Smith says he doesn't want a society where it's just, sex work is normalized. He has daughters. He doesn't want that to be the normal thing that they have to deal with and go through, whatever. But he doesn't think that, people should be thrown in cages and spend the rest of their life in jail for it either.
No.
And that's I think that's a libertarian position on a lot of things, that just because we want to legalize something that doesn't mean that we want to normalize it and we want it to be part of society and shoved in everybody's faces and little kids' faces and all that. That doesn't necessarily mean that either.
Well, it's the Ron Paul argument with heroin. It's like, if heroin was legal, would you do it?
That.
But no, it's exactly right. It's like, yeah, you might not want people to be thrown in jail for being hookers or whatever, but that doesn't mean you want your daughter to be one.
Yeah, exactly. To go to jail for finger popping each other's assholes.
I can hear.
I think so.
Yeah.
I just have one point also.
Yeah.
And because you're pro-choice doesn't mean you want the government funding anything. I know Tim already said that in his long soliloquy, but that it can be done privately, and the people who are getting the abortions should pay for those abortions. That's my stance too. Because I did say I was pro-choice earlier.
So Bisky has a love fetish with Mara, so I don't think that he's referring to him. But what he says is, I low-key want to hear from the guy at the top in the black shirt.
I mean, I kind of spoke my piece. I mean, I'm okay with it to the extent that it's not used as a birth control method. That's kind of where my issue with the leftists is not only do they cheer on every stupid little fucking thing they get, but they cheer it on because they look at it as a birth control method. So, my personal opinion is that if you're going to do it, you should be having to fund it yourself. We already saw when Trump threatened to defund Planned Parenthood, how they asked for private donations, and I think they garnered more private donations in less than a month than they do in their whole calendar year through federal grants. So basically, if you really love Planned Parenthood that much, then you should be able to fund it, and Planned Parenthood would be probably in better shape than it is right now because it would be relying less on your tax dollars, which are regulated by a bunch of fucking bureaucrats in some office somewhere, and would be coming from people who are actually passionate about the subject that they're putting their money into. I can say personally, I've been there. So, there's been situations, people end up in bad situations. So, I mean, you have to make that personal decision. Is it right for you? Is it right for your situation? And I'm also of the opinion too that there should be some kind of clause or some kind of contingency that the father is involved, assuming they want to be, because you see that sometimes where unfortunately the father gets cut out of the equation and they're not happy either.
If the woman has the right to abort, should the man have the right to abandon?
I would say
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go with the individual, and if the woman is stupid enough to let a man who's that irresponsible nut inside of her, then sucks to be her.
I agree. Now, I will say this though: I'm a big believer in personal property and personal responsibility. And
aren't we all?
I think you're a dirtbag if you were abandoned.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Complete scumbucket, but.
Again, I think that comes down to the difference between legalization and normalization. Like that's neither one of those things are something I would ever do in my personal life. But do I think they should be legal? Do I think the government should be able to throw me in a cage for the rest of my life at gunpoint, possibly murder me over it? Absolutely not.
Yep.
Do I believe they should be allowed to? Yes. Do I believe they should potentially be ostracized for doing such thing? Maybe.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of legal things right now that if somebody did, I might call you a piece of shit for it. I might think you're a piece of shit because you do certain legal things. And there's a lot of illegal things right now that if you did, I'm not going to look at you any different. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to think any differently.
I appreciate it.
Some illegal things
no
that were done on this
no
podcast
comment.
that I'm not judging anybody for.
What?
How do you know it was
Tobacco
illegal?
products only, my good sir. Tobacco products only.